The bus is broken. The bus is broken. And the Cozzards are here. I think this is one of the natural gas buses. Broken bus. It's a hybrid. It might be a hybrid. It's definitely not like the old buses. It's got some new features. Pretty day, diesel electric. I thought it was natural gas because it had that thing on the roof, or maybe that's just the air conditioner vents or whatever. It's a pretty day. It's a little chilly right now. It's going to get warmer. It's about 9 or 10 Celsius, going up to a high of about 17. That means it's like, it's in the 40s, but that's just the morning, and then it's going up into like the 60s. So it should be nice later today. Morning's end. You're up early. So we're at the National Cathedral School and the National Cathedral, and we'll make our way over down to Georgetown today, and then we're going to cut over to the Lincoln Memorial, and we'll see what's up. I'm going to the Lincoln Memorial. It's about 10,000 steps to the Lincoln Memorial from here. So it's just kind of like, let's go there. Right now we're at the, you're going for a walk. We're at the National Cathedral. We're going to cut around the back of this building, make our way down. I'm not sure which way we'll go today. We either go through Georgetown or go by the embassies. I think we'll cut. I haven't taken you guys around the back lately. I think there's a chapel. All the girls are heading over to chapel. Hey, you too. So the girls at the cathedral school are on their way to chapel. I don't know if the boys are going over. My son would be going over maybe later. It looks like the upper school girls. They're a little older. Pretty day though. Lots of buttresses over here holding up the cathedral. Haven't seen this side. No, I haven't been over here in a while. We haven't gone around this side of the cathedral in a while. So let's go around back. Morning. It is a beautiful looking day. It's a little bit chilly. It's supposed to warm up, but eventually it will get there. We were out here on Sunday the other day. We had a great bells ringing session. I'm going to try to come out again and film that in a little bit higher quality, so you guys can all see that. It's a little silent, yeah, not like breaking our eardrums. It was loud, wasn't it? Very, very loud. So let's go back behind these buildings. You're here on Sunday, yeah, cool. I ducked my head in and then I just went for a walk. Kind of. Birds are singing. Lawnmowers are chopping. Whew. So we're behind the National Cathedral right now, the Episcopalian Church in Washington, D.C. We'll make our way across the grounds of the cathedral, and then we'll head over to the Lincoln Memorial. Maybe, I don't know, I'm debating if we go through Georgetown or if we should go by the White House. I went past the White House the other day. It was kind of boring. Oh. You never know if there's going to be a really good protest or not. If there's a good protest, then it's kind of fun. I think we'll go through Georgetown, and that's how we advertise. It was pretty today. So they're working on the repairs still from an earthquake 5 years ago, which caused considerable damage to some of the stonework up at the top. It's costing them about $35 million that they're having to pay out of their own pocket. They don't have the money. They've had to just do the work kind of piecemeal. When they get funds, they can do some work, and then they don't do some work and do some work. You can see some of the items that they've actually taken off. It's a complex story, but it's actually kind of relevant to a lot of churches today. As America becomes more secular and in some sense more selfish, there's less giving to churches. But you can see some of the stonework that has to go back up. This actually changes because some of the ones that used to be here are now back up on the cathedral. So they store them down here, and then they take them back up and replace the ones that are busted and stuff. It's kind of funky. Let's go over this way. So the problem was the cathedral was run by clerics, yeah? The budgeting was run by a bishop. And proper accounting procedures and all that is not really something that most bishops go into, yeah? So he decided to take out these big debts and build an underground parking garage, which they needed, yes, they did. But he got the church basically heavily in debt to build this garage. And then about a month after that, he retired. And this was like, a $300 million project managed on a consumer version of Quicken, And so he knew where the funds were, where they weren't, what was going on with the money, etc. But then he retired. And then a month after that, the earthquake hit. They had no money. They just had no cash. They had no credit because they had just borrowed everything they had to build a parking garage. They were tapped out. They needed $35 million to repair the cathedral, and they had no way to get it. So they cut the staff, started massive fundraising, sold off some of their assets, like a collection of books and some other things, and got going. Then they decided, with proper management and a board of trustees and all that, that this is just not... They didn't have insurance, by the way. They didn't have earthquake insurance. They said, this is just not the way to run a big organization like this. They said, this building is getting older. It's going to need maintenance, etc. So they decided to launch a $200 million fundraising drive. They want to raise $200 million and basically use the interest on that $200 million to finance the maintenance of the building for the next generation. It's an interesting story because this is the situation with many large religious buildings in the United States. They're privately owned, poorly managed, and underfunded. And as America becomes more secular, less willing to donate to churches, well, what's going to happen to these grand old buildings? So, interesting tale of woe. what else can we talk about? So this morning, the number of coronavirus cases in the United States exceeded the number in Hong Kong. Yep. So all of you who are saying, oh, you must be so glad to have left Hong Kong, I now live in a country with more coronavirus than Hong Kong. And more troubling, less ability to stop it. Hong Kong has taken, well, basically draconian measures. Draconian social distancing measures to stop the virus. Measures that simply can't be done in the United States easily, if at all. And it's kind of spooky. Kind of spooky. So I hope there's nobody in Seattle right now, because Seattle is a disaster right now. We hope it'll die in the summer and spring, but you never know. It has spread in Singapore, where it is warm. Spanish flu subsided in the summer, but boy, did it come back in the fall like a monster. Yeah, of course, as a percentage-wise, it is much higher in Hong Kong. Of course, it's also much denser, too. Some interesting stats out there on the attack rate. I mean, you could have dinner. So there was a preliminary study out of China on what's known as the attack rate. It's the number of infections from a single event. So, like a dinner in Wuhan had 8 people, and 7 got infected. Then another private dinner had 4 people, and 2 got infected. Then there was one that was like a dinner with 47 people, but only like 10 got infected. So you can start to determine this like attack rate. And there's an interesting story in the Lancet that just came out from some Chinese, a preliminary story from some Chinese doctors. The other thing that was interesting, the South China Morning Post put out that there are actually 2 strains of the coronavirus moving. 2. There was a mutation, and there's what's called an L strain and an S strain. One of them is slightly more contagious, I think. But the split in the strains came about the same time as China implemented draconian social distancing. So one of them is not as common. So if you guys read the Hong Kong paper this morning, South China Morning Post, scmp.com. I also tweeted it on my Twitter, Penguin6. You can see that link about the 2 different strains. Kind of interesting. And of course, please read the articles coming out of Seattle, especially the genomic epidemiology that was done. This was groundbreaking research to discover that there has been coronavirus in Seattle for weeks and weeks. Just amazing stuff going on. Using the DNA sequences of the different viruses and tying them together in a family tree. Hello, Mustafa. Welcome to Washington, D.C. We're about to go past the Vice President's house, actually. I still haven't decided, though, if we're going to cut through Georgetown. I think we're going to go through Georgetown. There are a lot of Instagrams, yeah. They're in 300. I actually have a Twitter list. If you go look at Penguin6, I have a Twitter list of coronavirus scientists. I follow a lot of the scientists, not like the newspapers, but just scientists. It's a pretty good list if you want to get some real up-to-date details of what's going on in the science. Yeah, I got to tweet about something else, though. I should tweet about like a hot dog or something. So we're almost at the Vice President's house. I think we're going to walk down Embassy Row, and then I'm going to cut back through the woods into Georgetown. And then we'll come through Georgetown. But if I do that, then I got to go up this big hill. That's a complication. I don't really feel like going up that big hill. Can't think of another way to get around that big hill. Shoot. I should be able to just go downhill the whole flipping way because I'm going down to the Potomac River. But if I go that way, I gotta do that. I don't really do Ubers. So we're almost at the Vice President's house. It's just up in the trees. This is the Iraqi ambassador's house. So, oh yeah, in other news, my big shipment of masks to a hospital in China finally arrived in China. It took 32 days, but we delivered 395 masks to a hospital in China, and they were very, very appreciative yesterday, and they put those masks into immediate use. And this is the Cape Verde embassy. 32 days to get to China. I've been getting packages to Hong Kong in about 10. I've got another package going out to Hong Kong. It went out 2 days ago. It's going to John Ho, the Periscoper. Found Lori, a follower, sent me some masks, and I've sent them over to John Ho. So thank you, Lori. John is very excited about that. And they'll be arriving in 7 to 10 days in Hong Kong. But to mainland China, it's been a little bit trickier. That shipment, though, finally hit the hospital. We've got about 200 more masks that we're sending out to other hospitals and doctors that we know in China. That'll be coming in the next week or so as we get the requests. Though, to be honest, the production is ramped up such in China that I've actually had people in Hong Kong and China say, "Do you want me to send you masks?" New iPad. Oh, yeah, get one now. This is Norway's embassy. This is the Norwegian embassy. And you can see Queen Maud. Queen Maud was the granddaughter of Queen Victoria. She was English and Swedish. So Queen Victoria's child married into the Swedish family. They had Queen Maud. She married into the Norwegian royal family. Then she came to the United States during World War II. When the Germans occupied Norway, the Queen and her family came over to the United States. Her son, I believe, was the current king of Norway. So this is the official time of the United States. There we go. There you go. That's the official time of the United States. That's the weird effect. This is U.S. Naval Observatory atomic clocks. And there's the Vice President's house right up there on the hill. God, it's noisy. This is why I don't like walking in America. It's so freaking loud. It's not relaxing. It's not peaceful. You're like a second-class citizen next to the cars. So that's the Embassy of the Holy See. That is the Vatican's embassy to the United States. You see the papal flag flying atop there. Next to that is Finland. You know, we actually started with a bus. There's a bus coming up this road. This one's out of service, but here's an example of the buses. We were arguing earlier if they were hybrids or natural gas. Would you guess that he resides there day and night? Pence is here all the time. In fact, I have put up several Instagram videos and YouTube videos when I've walked by here and we've seen his motorcade go by, going out. That's where he sleeps. I think Pence is here more than Trump is in the White House, to be honest. Oh, the bus system here is called Metro. Metro is the subway. They call it Metro Bus. So Metro is the Washington Metropolitan Transit Authority, and they run the subway system, which is just known as Metro. And then they took over the bus system, so it's known as Metro Bus. Hello, Washington, D.C. I'm in Washington, D.C. You know where I'm at right now. I am at the Vice President's house. And we're making our way down Embassy Row, and then we're going to cut over to Georgetown, even though I got to go up this big, stupid hill, because I wasn't thinking. I don't want to go up this hill. I really don't want to go up this hill. DC has a very, at one time it was a very advanced subway system. It has fallen on great disrepair. But the Washington DC Metro, it's one of the more recent metros. I think they started building in the 1970s, and they're still building a few lines out to the airport. Oh, thanks. We're gonna go down to the Lincoln Memorial today. The subway system isn't like New York. New York is one of the few subway systems that has express trains. So New York's subway system is a 4-track subway system. DC is a 2-track system, and as a result, there are no express trains. The DC system is suffering. It hasn't been properly taken care of, and a lot of it is kind of a mess. They used to have trams. They used to have trolleys, and some of the trolleys used to go through tunnels, but now they have a very advanced system. It's comparable to the BART system. In fact, I think it was built just after BART was built in San Francisco. Federal Triangle. Yeah, Federal Triangle is a stop on the subway system. The trolleys are gone, unfortunately. They've put in some new streetcars in one area, but it doesn't look like they had the money to build it out. There's the actual Naval Observatory. You can see there is an observatory back there where the U.S. Navy has been taking things. Washington Subway is at the city center. It's a spoken hub system, basically. So the city center has extensive number of stops, but then it branches out all into the suburbs and works kind of like a suburban commuter rail, but not as elegantly because there's just too many stops. I think there's over 100 stops. But the city core the idea is to bring them from things. That's the problem, is that you'll have a system and you'll have a line that starts up in suburban Maryland, goes downtown, and then comes back up to suburban Maryland. Of course, yeah, it has Uber and all that. The problem is, if you were going from end to end, you have to go all the way into the city and then all the way out of the system. There's no ring road system. Like for those of you who've been in London, there's no circle line. There's no outer connection. There should be, but they just can't get their act together. So, coming up now to the British Embassy. Rule Britannia rules the waves. And then the Kiwis are up behind the Brits. And I just discovered Sri Lanka is up behind the Kiwis. So there's 2 other embassies up that way. Yeah, it's frustrating. That's why everybody drives, and that's why traffic is a mess. Georgetown Day School, that's one of the private schools, actually a very elite private school in Washington, D.C. Very progressive school. Georgetown Day was one of the first schools in the city to allow Jewish students. It was then one of the first schools to allow African American students. And they continue that progressive teaching philosophy. Georgetown Day, very good track record of placing people into the top universities in America. God, it looks like we got every type of scooter here right now. The population of DC proper is about 700,000 people, making it about 1/10 the size of Hong Kong. But when you include the suburbs, it's about 3 to 5 million. You see, the problem is the suburbs extend into the suburbs of Baltimore. So they kind of look at Washington and Baltimore, which are generally about an hour apart, as one giant megapolis. There are some cities that are literally have one, like the husband will commute to Baltimore and the wife will commute to Washington, D.C. That's just how the city area is built. People don't want to drive, I guess. That's the British ambassador's house. Am I close to the Washington Zoo? Yes and no. As the crow flies, The Washington Zoo is just over those ridges, down a valley and up a valley. It's not very far. Probably about a mile. But to get there from where I am now, I kind of have to loop and turn and twist and go up and down hills. It's not like there's a direct path to the zoo from where I'm at right now. There are parts of DC that are extraordinarily expensive, yes. Not like Hong Kong, of course. So you have to understand my definition of expensive is a little bit whacked. But in my neighborhood, a 2-bedroom apartment is like $4,000. Something like that. $3,000 to $4,000 for a 2-bedroom. Housing prices in my neighborhood, well, you can get like about, you can get like a 1,500 square foot house for like 1.2 million or something like that. That's nothing by Hong Kong standards. Here's my favorite name, the Embassy of the Plurinational State of Bolivia, with the very, very weird flag I didn't look up the other day. But we haven't quite figured out this Bolivian flag that's up here. Because that's the national flag, yeah? But what the heck kind of flag is that? Anybody? Bueller? There's a lot. Wife is calling. So guys, I might lose the scope. If I do, I'll come back and start again. But the wife is calling. She obviously wants something. Now she's texting. She's texting me saying call me. So we're gonna have to do part 2 of the scope. Guys, I'm gonna be right back after I call her. Let's take you down here to Georgetown first and then leave you with a view of the thing. And then we're gonna stop and then we'll start up again. Because I've got to deal with the wife. I didn't bring a second phone today. Usually I bring a second phone. Today I just forgot. Oh, got the light too. Alrighty, there's Georgetown. I'm off. I'll see you guys in just a few. Here we go again. Once more into the breach here at the Cml Canal in Georgetown. And we're going to make our way down the river and over to the Lincoln Memorial and National Mall. This is the Cml Canal, currently empty of water due to the weather. And this is the Venezuelan embassy, currently empty of diplomats due to political issues. So let's go over to the Potomac. And I think my shoelace is untied, I think. Hello. Chenault Building. I wonder if this is named after Mrs. Chenault. I'm not living in Hong Kong at the moment. We're in the United States for a year or two. Though it makes us wonder if we should go back, given that the number of virus outbreaks has now exceeded Hong Kong. This morning, the U.S. hit 120, and that's going to go up tenfold this week, I think, given the testing that's going to come out hopefully by the end of this week. So we are back on our morning walk, heading down to the river. Hey, yeah, it's been interesting for them. Though, kids don't always appreciate all the cool stuff until later. I hope so. Sasha. Well, we try. Let's try not to get hit. I just realized I haven't seen a movie in like a couple weeks. See, I have a movie pass. I can see 3 movies a week. I haven't seen any movies in a while. Maybe I should go see a movie today. Yeah, I was kind of careful. So, what do we got up here? We got a couple embassies up here. We've got, is this Mongolia? What's this? Blue and red, with a, it's a crown, yellow signet in it. What flag is that? Oh, God. I'm not sure what flag that is. No, it's Haiti's got an embassy somewhere else. Is it Haiti? They don't have a crown, do they? I don't know what flag that is. And then up here is Sweden. Sweden and Norway have a facility here. Sweden, I don't know why Norway. No, it's not Norway. It's somebody else, maybe. Some islands that are part of Norway. No, Taiwan is back up somewhere else. This is called the House of Sweden. House. And it's all sweet. It's all IKEA products. No. It reminds me, I need to edit up my video blog from Sweden. Relatively nice day. A little chilly at the moment. It's supposed to get warmer as the day goes on. That's one big brush. Think about it, I'm actually kind of interested in seeing a movie. This sculpture is something weird. I don't know what that is. And yes, you do have to go through security at most embassies. Not as stringent as, say, airports. It depends on the embassy. I don't know what that sculpture is. So we're here on the Potomac River, where it's actually a bit windy. In Washington, D.C. That's Roslyn, Virginia, in Arlington County, across the river. No height restriction on buildings there. It's a bit chilly. So this is the boathouse down here where all the universities have their crews and go rowing. It's a little choppy today to be rowing. They're probably out rowing this morning, and then the crews will go rowing later in the day. There are helicopters all the time. I actually just saw a Coast Guard helicopter go by a few minutes ago, but we'll see something go by. I'm pretty certain pretty much all the time there's helicopters. This is the Potomac River, yes. And hang on. I hear a jet or a helicopter, can't tell right now. By the way, that building over there is like the first Marriott ever. That's like the first Marriott hotel, I think, ever. So the CIA is down this river about 5 or 10 miles. So you see a lot of helicopters from the Pentagon to the CIA going by during the day. Lots of shells here for rowing. Big museum. The Smithsonian is an umbrella organization that contains, I think, 15 to 19 separate museums. There's the Smithsonian Museum Fair and Space, the Museum of American Art, the American Museum of Natural History, African American, Native American history. So there are all these different museums administered by the Smithsonian Institution. It's not one gigantic super museum. It's actually about a mile of different museums. I don't think you could see every exhibit in a day or a week. It's so big, so many. That's the Watergate Hotel up there. That's Richard Nixon's favorite hotel. Not really. Now comes this really, really long, boring part of the hike, where you just walk along the water. Yes, you can go fishing. I don't know if you want to, though. I think about 15 years ago, the Potomac was cleared for fishing. 20 years ago. And then, like, recently, they're getting the Potomac to the point that it'll be cleared for swimming. It's not quite there yet. There's still sewage, raw sewage, that goes into the Potomac. The most posh, I think the Mandarin Oriental is probably now, the Mandarin Oriental is the newest posh hotel in DC that I can think of, so it's probably like the most posh. Yeah, it has that old system where rainwater and sewage water mixes. So in times of great rain, you have raw sewage overflowing into the waters. They are spending billions of dollars to try to do that. I'm a tech guy, so I kind of work wherever I want. I mean, honestly, my tech projects take me kind of all over. It doesn't really matter where I live. My wife is a banker, and so she does banking, finance, pops up in different places. We haven't quite decided how long we're going to stay here. The kids like the school here. They're doing well. So it's kind of like, My wife can do some remote work, but mostly she works in offices. I'm a lawyer too. We're all lawyers. We don't always do stuff. I'm a lawyer. I don't do law. In fact, I think most lawyers don't do law. There we go. You know, it's like, it's in the 40s, but it's really sunny, and it's getting hotter every 5 minutes, and I'm wearing this big heavy jacket, and I am starting to sweat. I shouldn't have, when I left the house I was warm. That's like Michael Corleone, you know? He's like, I don't need tough guys, I need lawyers. In DC, everybody's a lawyer. Hell, your coffee shop guy's probably a lawyer. DC has like the highest percentage of lawyers per capita, probably of any city in the world, I would imagine. It's really insane. Well, lawyers do all different things: finance, public policy, communications. It's kind of the joke. You ever seen the movie Madagascar? And like the zebra guy is turning 30 years old. He's like, I'm just so lost. I don't know what to do with my life. Maybe I should go to law school. And that was kind of like, it was kind of a hilarious thing. Let's pay off student loans easy enough. Boy, these geese are loud today. Can you guys hear the geese? There's a couple of them over here, but there's a whole bunch squawking away earlier. Yeah. These things are actually really big. When you get a bunch of them, man, it gets nasty. Those things like come after you. So this is the part of the hike that I hate, because it's just like nothing. I got cars on the left. Yeah, the squirrels here are mental. The squirrels will some of the squirrels will actually run up on your leg if you let them. You're like, give them food or something, because they're just like so used to seeing people. Bloomberg has quit. That is an interesting way to spend, $700 million? That was like Was he ever really even in? I think he spent like $700 million on what, 6 weeks? 7 weeks? This is empty. I don't know, San Francisco doesn't maybe not have as... DC is like known as a tree city. It has a tremendous amount of tree cover. I think even much more than San Francisco. So maybe they don't have it. Reagan used to feed the squirrels in the White House. So they were quite familiar with him. This building here is the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. This is the Opera, the Washington Opera, the Washington Ballet, Symphony Orchestra, etc. They all have there. Over there is Arlington, Virginia. A lot of businesses, lobbyists, etc. Back up on the hill is Georgetown University. You can just see the spires of the administration building. That's the oldest Catholic university in the United States. And up over that way is Arlington Cemetery. I haven't gone to Arlington Cemetery in a while. Ooh, it's cold. Now, the temperature has dropped. The wind is now blowing over the water and onto my face. It's pretty chilly here now. Pretty, yeah. That's Roosevelt Island over there. Those trees over there is a monument for Teddy Roosevelt, but it's very, very isolated. It's very hard to get to it, so not a lot of people go there. I don't think a lot of people even know about it. Changing of the guards, yes, many times. Scootering is actually quite fun in DC. You don't really need a bicycle. Are people scared of the virus? Some are scared. It's a little bit, it's far away. Right now there's been no outbreaks within a couple 100 miles of DC. There have been outbreaks in Seattle, which is on the other side of the country, in California. I think Seattle and California, you're seeing community spreading, which is where it's thinking. Yeah, on the weekends, this is actually packed with joggers and walkers, but most people are at work. DC is a 9 to 5 kind of place, and people are all at work at 9 o'clock. But we're coming up to Lincoln Memorial shortly, so things will be a little bit more interesting. Pretty boring. I think they have to replace this bridge pretty soon. You know, we're getting our first reports of pre blossoms. So they have this like 15-point checklist that they follow to alert you when the cherry blossoms are coming. And we've entered the checklist. We're on the snap count, right? Yeah. So not at the cherry blossoms, we don't have anything, but I think if we have a week or two of good weather, which we probably will have, we're going to have some pretty amazing cherry blossoms very, very soon. And I will take you to see those in a week or two. More of them geese. Yeah. Not homeless. There are quite a few homeless. Maybe in the touristy bits you didn't see them, but if you know, they're everywhere. Much more than Hong Kong, for example. We have a real homeless problem. Not like San Francisco, which is completely it's endemic in San Francisco. But we do have a pretty significant homeless population in D.C. Whew. Move my hand a little bit. So we're going to make our way up to the Lincoln Memorial. What's up there? That's what they're worried about, is if the virus gets into the homeless population, it could spread easily. Yeah, the richest state in the nation has the most homeless. It's kind of crazy. There's some homeless in Hawaii. I always wondered why homeless people didn't just go to Hawaii. I mean, if you're going to sleep on the streets, let's go somewhere where it's like 75 degrees and pretty. She fell over. Who's worried? Seattle's worried about the homeless. Seattle's got a big homeless problem. What's that jet? Alright, let's catch this seagull. Hello, bird. Oh. Seagull wasn't even afraid of me. Seagull's just like, yeah, what do you want? I'm going to take your phone and fly away with it. Did you see that thing where the dog grabbed a GoPro and ran around with a GoPro and a selfie stick? That was hilarious. And like the owner is like chasing the dog, and the GoPro's pointed at the dog's face, and he's just like hee 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 hee, and he's just like running around with the GoPro, and the owner's like chasing him, trying to get his camera back. I saw another one where like a falcon grabbed a GoPro and like took it for a run. My kids are begging me for a dog. There's bald eagles in D.C. There's hawks and vultures, but there's also bald eagles in the Washington, D.C. area. So if you go out into some of the parks down by, they're usually by the river, there are some eagles' nests where they go fishing and stuff. There's actually, well, my house on the bay, I actually have bald eagles living next to it, and I see them a lot. I see bald eagles every week. In DC proper, I think I've seen maybe one. There is a webcam, though. They've got a bald eagle nest set up with a webcam. I do what I want. I don't really define myself by my job. A little bit. It's kind of like seeing deer, you know? Like you guys probably see deer maybe, once a week or something like that? And that's how I see bald eagles. We see a lot of deer here. I see deer all the time. I don't think there's a bald eagle by the White House. Unless you consider like 2 miles away by the White House. The White House is in the middle of the city. Though there was a deer that got to the White House once. He got his head stuck in the White House fence. That was insane. And then they had beavers over at the Jefferson Memorial one year. These beavers started chewing down the cherry trees. That's crazy. A couple of hawks. There's a lot of these vultures here, these big black vultures. Whew. It's a bit of a hike. Scotland and England. Andrew wasn't a very common name. Alright, let's, oh crap. This is the Lincoln Memorial. Sorry. Let's cross the street. Isn't he from New Jersey, Bruce Springsteen? So over there you see that big American flag. That's the State Department. So that's where Mike Pompeo, that's what's known as Foggy Bottom. Foggy Bottom is a part of DC. This used to be all swamp. So all of this land from here to the Washington Monument is all dredge. This used to all be swamp, and then they filled it in and extended the mall out with the Lincoln Memorial here. They just reopened it. They had closed it for repairing the elevator, and then they just reopened it. I wonder if there's a line today. Probably. Once a year you can walk up it, the stairs. I gotta find out what that is. It was impacted by the earthquake, and then they fixed it, and then after they fixed it, they decided to shut it again and do some more repairs. Not sure why. It was closed for major repairs in 2000, and then they did it again just recently. Shot is freezing. I'm not sure why. Sometimes it you can get stuck in a loop. That's a government Buick, government Suburban there. That's like a war wagon, bodyguard car. Here we go. These bikes are all over now. These big, like Dutch bikes, like room for like 10 kids. Pretty cool. Crossing the street. Well, it's pretty quiet today. It's like nobody here. Normally this is filled with like scooters and bicycles and everything. I'm back. It's broadcasting. In Hong Kong, everybody's walking because it's the only thing you can do is go hiking. Spring break's in a couple weeks. Some good stuff. The World Health Organization Periscope is just starting, so if you like hearing about the coronavirus, the World Health daily update is just on Periscope. You should be following WHO on Periscope. 4th of July will be crazy. Now, the reflecting pool is currently empty. They have drained the reflecting pool, and they are currently cleaning it out. You guys are always asking me, how deep is the reflecting pool? How deep is the reflecting pool? And now you can actually see. It's not really that deep. They don't normally do this. They do this every couple of years. God, that would be fun to skateboard. Looks like they've been driving like a sweeper truck. I don't know what they did with the fish. So the reflecting pool is not reflecting right now. Oh, interesting. It's pretty deep here in the corners. I wonder if that's because people might fall in. That's probably why they did that. Huh. Interesting. So here at the edges, it's actually deep. It does freeze. No, they don't let you ice skate. They replaced the elevator. So that's it. That's the reflecting pool. That's really far out. Hang on a second. We gotta take a picture of this. Well, I'm not in the middle yet, though. I gotta be right in the middle. Okay, one more picture. Ah, crap. Sorry about that. Cool. They've got like they just pump in water. I'd love to ride a scooter in there. There's a bunch of rangers here, though. They're going to like jump on you if you try to go in there. So normally it's filled with crud. It would be awesome for skateboarding and for like scootering, but it's not that deep. No, I can't walk in it right now. There's a bunch of rangers right there. Park rangers won't let you go in. But you guys ask, like it's not any taller than a traffic cone. Are there skate parks? I don't know officially. I think so. I haven't skated in a long time. That's pretty cool. So they basically cleaned up all the duck poop. This thing was filled with duck poop, goose poop too. So maybe that's why they've drained it out, scrubbed it, and now it's empty. God, it's like a racetrack. God, this would be awesome for like a drift race. There's actually rangers and police all over the place. I guess you could walk in. I don't see why you couldn't. I think they'd yell at me. That'd be a cool photo from the middle of the reflecting pool. I could come out here at night, take a really cool photo. They're watching me. They're like, look at that guy. That guy is like, he wants to go in. You can just tell he wants to go in. I'm not really sure what, I think the cones are kind of this like secondary thing, like don't go in the pool. That or like they didn't want the sweeper truck to get too close to the edge. The cops are here all the time, yeah. But I could like go in, dress in black, go in and take a picture. That's how. So look at this. This is a little step stool for the ducks. They have these long, so like when the baby ducks come, they have this little step stool to come in and out. Breaking the law, breaking the law. Yeah, the baby ducks will try to follow the mother out. The mother jumps out, and then the babies are stuck. So there's another one over there. You can kind of see there's another one coming up in about 100 yards. They put these little like steps for the baby ducks to come out. Maybe it's a step to get in there. Well, it looks like somebody was driving here. There's like tire tracks. So maybe somebody was like racing. What if I just like fell in? Like, oops, I've fallen. Oops, I've fallen. Oh my, I've fallen. What they're doing. Digging a hole, digging a hole. Ah, she's calling me again. So guys, I gotta go. Wife's on the phone. Anyway, it's been interesting. Oh, let's look back that way. Thanks a lot for watching. I'm going to end now and give her a shout. All right, see you guys soon.